We are back once again, to discuss invisible cities. And I have a couple thoughts that I'm going to try to work with today. Some that I feel like are a little unfinished from yesteryear, and some new ones that I feel like I can use to change the pace of these things that I've been discussing, and perhaps the flow and tone and rhythm of this thing. So let me start off with the poem first. Men have always tried to be pure, dancing around on the endless blue like flocks of doves. Men fight though, so God makes men fish. I sort of have the feeling that today this is just a book. And maybe the better story is my real life. It's this idea that I have a narrative inside my own head. And this narrative that exists as sort of my mental consciousness can see things in my world worth seeing. I have this idea that maybe the eyes can sort of understand things initially. And maybe that's why we blink, to add a little bit of a veil to what we see. Do you ever feel like life is a story rather than just life, like it's narrated? Who narrates your life? If a story is narrated, does it sort of have that archaic pronunciation to it? A sort of classical nuance to such a thing? Some sort of light that gets to the bottom of things? It is this idea that there is something ancient I think that if we ever get to the place where we can see ancientness in ourselves, then perhaps we can feel this narration, we can feel this story begin to unfold. And once our life has this narration, it sort of has this direction. It has this feeling that there are tribes. And more than there being mistakes that you can make, there's always somebody to know. And yet this person to know has great reason to be there. And the more of a narration that all things have, the more that things sort of go unquestioned. You feel as though everything has reason. Everything around you is ancient. Maybe at that point in time, things are more of what they are. After all, when a thing is ancient, it seems to be much more of just what it is. Almost having a sense of being first. And if a thing is first, its history and past are almost unquestionable because there is none. So then maybe these things stand as a pillar of eternity because they seem to work backwards. The idea that something is structurally sound. Makes it seem like order has always existed. Order can always be found. And perhaps this order was seeing something that gives you rest. Maybe that's what a book does at its best. If order is already known, for there to be order in any known, then perhaps the idea that things come from somewhere in which something isn't known is like the idea of disagreement. Are we correct if we disagree with reality? If we say this isn't how things are supposed to be? What sort of structures are we? If I was to sort of interject in my own thought process, then we'd have to be archaic. For us to be first to cause, then in that way nature obeys our laws. And again, I think that the more that we could say that, the more that everything around us would have reason to be. Then maybe we would call all the things that we know family. Such is the idea of a king. But how do we retain the archaic thing? Maybe the king resides in some vision. He's on a cloud. He's in letters while he's on some mission. The king's in a book. The king's in a rock on the ground. But how do we know with all these things it's the king that we found? Maybe it's pointless to try to prove that all things matter. If I was to say that somehow the city works in some way, but not in some other matter, to create some division between yourself and what you say, that being lost is how you find the way, but I know what I could say. I could say everything could matter to you. Then it's not necessarily a matter of what matters. It's a matter of you making things matter. Then have we created that pronounced figure that every time we stoop down to pick something up off the ground, it's like lightning has struck. Our back doesn't take the weight. Because it's not necessarily history that gives us place. It's order in every space. Then maybe the more that everything matters to us, we can say what we think should matter. Then maybe I can say something like, I think this city is like the sun. For most people, it's easier to deal with it. As if there isn't some great offering that one must provoke for the horses to run forward and pull the yoke and raise God's chariot up over the sky. It's too much for people to think that the city is alive. So maybe when you find a city, I keep saying that maybe it's when you're lost, because then maybe that's when all these things extravagantly have no cost. They come from nowhere. There's no history. They're for anyone that can see. But maybe the moment that you pointed out, and no longer is the sun what the sun's about, all of a sudden, things really do have feeling. Small things matter, and your back hurts when kneeling. So if you want things to have feeling, and you want to live a life inside the sun, then maybe the courage is to give up feeling some. As it took courage before to tell people that the sun was more, now it takes courage to close the door. I think it takes courage to say that things are about yourself. This is almost like giving up feeling to something else. This is how the city, though, takes shape. Then, in place of there being some divine grace to deal with yourself, you must win your own race. And in matters of dealing with yourself, then you become lost. Then all of a sudden, getting back on track has a cost. People are like this emotional currency. And the only thing that you continually seem to be finding is that when everybody agrees on what the sun is, it's blinding. Then you become simple, just like the sun. And to measure yourself is to give yourself some. Until again, that cost becomes like misdirection. And we think that order comes from the difference, not the sum. then you begin to disagree with yourself. Like you know something better, but only if you don't know. Then again, you imagine that maybe what everyone says is wrong. Because when everyone says all the same words to the same song, it's not very long. And you say what everyone else sees as the sun is wrong. Is that where the city is? What does the city do but make? Anybody who goes into the city must do something. Then it's only once you have a history that you can become lost. Then that's the moment in which things have a cost. And maybe this is only what cities are like for me. And rather than make matters worse, I try to say, words matter, don't they? But maybe only if they can harness the power of the sun. Then if what I've said is true, the sun can be anything, be anyone. Then words are like a city. Then the irony is that cities are actually more airy. Than being places that are.
Hey.
What's up?
Hate to interrupt you.
What's up?
I packed an extra sandwich. It's got butter and ham and cheese, Swiss cheese. You want it?
Sure.
Heck yeah.
Why not?
Here you go.
Thanks so much,
yeah,
sir.
enjoy the day.
Yeah, thanks. Is this what it's like eating your own words? So then maybe if words were like to be the sun, maybe it'd be a slow and definite rhythm. Something that you don't necessarily have to understand. but in the end, it's all the same. Why not? I'm ripped. Then how many places has the sun touched? Where each place that the sun touches is another interaction like this, where it does varying degrees of everything conditionally. Then that's like the sun. And that's like a city. Where how long anything is. From the point of where everything has order to everything's a quiz. It all goes back to what I said in the very beginning. Before I say it, does anybody remember what I said at the very beginning? I do. I told you guys I have experience with doing things like this. I could even tell you a whole nother story. Another hour and I won't miss. This is the point in time where, you know, if you're listening to this like in 1,000 years or whenever, in 10 years, you comment. You know, don't look at the other comments or whatever. Click comment and tell me how long it is for each of those things, because we all know that time is the most important factor in this equation if we're to say what anything is. And there's one thing that this book hasn't told us much of, and it's how long anything is. Because time allows us to be in that moment where we feel everything has reason, especially if everybody agrees on the time. And especially if we know how long everyone has. Trust me, then everyone's going to feel like family. Better believe it. I can tell you the time. I'm still finding flowers. Because really, we've said everything else. You know, we've given the idea of something that can express itself in a host of ways, in which it's the idea that you're alone, or the idea that there's people in your way. And which one gives you a better indication as to what things are and who you are? And which one is more true? Because if we add time to the equation, then we really shed some light. But if we're going for this idea of family, maybe the sun is like some ancient city far beyond our sight, coming up over mountaintops and peaks. It's just spires and staircases, right where the sky and heaven meets. It's like I've eaten a dish so spicy that to me no longer is there spice. That's called seasoning. And what does it cost me to say these things? Or perhaps, what do I gain from it? Again, maybe if I'm good enough at talking, you can't tell if I'm just talking to myself or someone else. Hell! Well, it sure has seemed like this has all happened in the blink of an eye.